Hello to all my friends out there, and this video is why should prepping for a grand solar minimum be a priority? Okay. Hi you guys. As you can see, we have plenty of sunshine in Southern California. Well, that's why California is called the Sunshine State. But why prepping for a grand solar minimum has to be a priority? I decided to do these videos separate from the food videos. Okay, grand solar minimum. What is another word for a grand solar minimum? Dum 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 dum. It's a mini ice age. You know, when they report we're heading into a grand solar minimum, it sounds so much better than a mini ice age. It really does. But a grand solar minimum is a mini ice age. Maybe mini means we can survive it, but we don't know because we haven't endured a mini ice age since I think it was the 16th or the 17th century. Okay, so we know it's coming. Oh, and this is incorrect. A regular solar minimum is 11 years, but this ice age is a grand solar minimum, so it's going to be longer than 11 years. And this year is starting in 2020, year number 1. So as usual, the time to be preparing is in advance. So why should we be concerned about an ice age, a mini ice age? Well, a mini ice age could create shortened crop cycles. So there's less sunshine, there's less times to grow food, there's less volumes of food, there's the same amount of people. And you know, you go 1 year, we go 3 years, we go 9 years, you know. So it's dangerous just for crops. And some of the crops that are grown in places that might be hit are corn. And we use corn for ethanol. The gas could go up. Also, you know, corn is very important if there's not as much meat, because that's going to round your beans and your rice out. And I noticed I was just at Smart and Final, and now is a good time to buy the big cans of vegetables. And what I'm going to do is buy those big cans, and then I'm going to get good Ziploc baggies and just, you know, portion it out. They also had nice big cans of fruit salad over there. Okay, mini ice age. Mini ice age and animals. Well, they couldn't protect the animals from freezing. I mean, from drowning. Some of our pigs were killed. Some of our cattle was drowned. And we got the Chinese, you know, that own some of our pork farms now. Nothing to stop them from contaminating our pork with the swine virus. So that's going to reduce this cold could freeze the meat, could freeze the beef. They could freeze. Then we would have less meat, and the price of meat would escalate. So we know the grand solar minimum, or whenever you hear that, just put in the place mini ice age. Okay, during the ice age, we know dinosaurs froze. I mean, we have woolly mammoth, and these were big animals too. Dinosaurs, you know, remains, they were frozen. So people, though, managed to survive because they migrated. The ones that survived migrated. So it has to be kept in mind, if things start getting bad, one of the preparations would be migration. Okay, people could get cold-related sicknesses. Two that comes to my mind is pneumonia and pleurisy. In the day, if you got pneumonia, you weren't going to survive. Okay, if there was a massive amount of pneumonia and, it was more than the health providers could handle, people could die. So that has to be considered. In our family, we have a horror story. My mother's mother, my grandmother on my mother's side, froze to death. Yes. If you have a big enough family, you will have you think the polygamy stories were bad? How about that one? Want to hear the rest of the story? 13 children, and the father of these children died. If you die, who's going to take care of your children? And there's another point. Okay, there was a book I read. It was a horror story of a book. I used to read a lot. Well, I've been known to read a lot. It was called Blood and Money. And the guy was somewhere in an Asian country, and he would befriend people, and he would murder them and take all their money and possessions. He would volunteer to show them around, and he was a cold-blooded killer. But he was also an escape artist, and, he would escape, prison. So on his last escape, he starved himself down very, very little, and he escaped out of a little vent or something. But it was so icy cold with snow, he was weakened down, and he froze to death. Now, it's possible something like that could have happened to my mother's mother, because she had 13 children. So if you're weakened down because you don't have as much food, because life is hard, then these solar minimums might be really bad as well. Okay, now freezing and transportation. Okay, you can be trapped in an airport for days. And believe me, when the airline economy goes down, it really cripples the economy really bad. It really does. During 9/11 and other things, the airplane stocks went way down. Well, in these solar minimum cases, it's not going to recover as quickly, because it's going to be cold the next year and the next year and the next year. Okay. When you're traveling on an icy, slippery road, I've been in places, I haven't been in sleet, but I've been in places with like real slippery mud and water, and that was muddy, rainy places. And also I've been in hailstorms where I honestly thought maybe the windshield was going to crack. So these weather-related things could cause a lot of death just from traveling. Also, if they have to transport the food from one place to another, and the weather is really horrible, then that's going to drive the price of the food up. And if we have less corn, less ethanol, that's going to drive, diesel, but anyway, it's going to affect everything. Okay, now, at-risk population. What is an at-risk population? Well, it would be poor people, and it would be homeless people. I believe there's going to be mass deaths of homeless people. If you're living like on the edge of homelessness, or you are homeless, you have to migrate. You're not going to survive this cold weather. You have to find a way to get to a warmer area. Okay, now. So, what does this mean? This means that we have to be thinking about preparing for, all these conditions that might not happen. Okay, preparing can't hurt. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to stockpile food. That way you're not going to be trapped in your house with no food and freezing. Okay, the things I would stockpile are barley, wheat, rice, oatmeal, oil, shortening, cornmeal, and instant potatoes. And, I would just start, getting big bags. I'll be showing you what I'm doing. That's why I joined Costco. So that I can buy these large containers of food. It's more cost effective, and you're less danger of running out of food. So stockpile food. Okay, now you got to be thinking about how to stay warm. Okay, what could happen is the cost of the utilities could go way up. So what I would suggest is be thinking of all kinds of ways how you can save money on your utilities. One thing you can do is never be home except like when you're sleeping. One of my neighbors used to turn all the breaker switches off except for when he came home. Except for out here you could do it, except for the refrigerator, and his utilities was $8 a month. Okay, you cannot let your utilities be turned off no matter what. You have to have shelter, and you have to have heat, and you have to have food, and you have to have water. Okay, so then when you get home, you're just gonna really live in one room to reduce your utilities. Okay, where are places you could go? You could go to church. I used to take Bible studies every night, and all of them included meals. And my friend said I was just going for the cheap, free food. Actually, I wasn't. For one thing, I didn't like the food, not that I'm that picky, but I did, try to graciously consume it. But you could go to these churches, and you could go to malls, and you could go to wherever you can think of, the library, the malls, wherever you can think of that's warm and conserve your own utilities. Okay, my neighbor used to light their house with Christmas lights years round. Gotta start being smart. Maybe get some of those solar panel lights. So you're going to be thinking about that. Okay, and then one of the things that's possible to do is to earn a little money by selling stuff. So things that what I'm doing is I'm selling the fashion coats, but I'm hanging on to all the really, really warm coats. And I'm looking for those in thrift stores, and guess what? I can't find any. Also, I'm looking for sleeping bags. One of the street men I met up with told me, and this was such a bad thing, that the person's going to hell. They stole his sleeping bag. So what you want to do is you want to stockpile sleeping bags. Even when I was buying sleeping bags, I'm still buying them. I couldn't find them super cheap, but I could find them from time to time. And then stockpile camp heaters. Okay, a camp heater is going to do you no good if you run out of propane. So these are just some of the things to be thinking about with the Grand Solar Minimum / Ice Age. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you have helpful comments, please leave them because my followers read them. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that so crazy? Okay, you guys, God bless you all.